I still remember the fifth burial like it was yesterday. Same dusty village road, same wailing, same accusations. This time, it was even worse because everyone was sure Ada had killed her fifth husband. She stood there in black wrapper, her eyes hollow, her body weak from grief. Her last husband, Ebuka, had slumped in the bathroom, just like the others. No illness, no warning, 1 minute alive, next minute gone. How can one woman bury 5 husbands? Mama Nkechi had shouted, pointing her bony finger at her. This one is not normal. She's a witch. People nodded, some spat. Some made the sign of the cross on themselves and backed away. I wanted to defend her. I really did. But even I had started to wonder. Each man died within 2 years of marrying her, and she had children for each one. 5 men, 5 sons. The villagers whispered that she was using their destiny for something dark. But I've known her that since we were kids. She was always the quiet one, never raised her voice, never looked for trouble. But after the third death, something in her eyes changed, like she was carrying the weight none of us could see. She begged the police to investigate, but each autopsy came back with nothing unusual. The same heart attack, sudden death, natural causes. One doctor even blamed it on stress. Stress. I watched her carry her last baby on her back while dragging a sack of clothes to the taxi that would take her back to her father's house. But even there, she found no peace. Her own brothers locked her out. You are cursed, they said. You won't bring your bad luck here. So, she moved into a small room near the edge of the village, barely enough space for her and the children. She sold akara to feed them, but no one would buy. People crossed the streets when they saw her. Mothers warned their sons not to talk to her. But here's the twist no one expected. The day Ebuka died, I saw a woman leaving Ada's compound very early in the morning. A woman with a limp. That was what made me start watching closely, because there is only one person I knew walked with a limp, and that is Ada's mother. The same woman who stood by her side at every burial. The one who poured tribute and cried the loudest. The one everybody believed was praying for her daughter. I didn't tell anyone what I saw that day. Not yet. But then, I knew it wasn't just a string of bad luck. Something deeper was going on. And I was going to find out. After that morning, I started watching everything. Every movement, every visit. I wasn't trying to gossip. I just had this itch in my spirit, that kind of feeling that refuses to go away, no matter how you try to shake it off. That was how I felt. Ada's mother, Mama Justina, was always around, too around if you ask me. She would come every other day with a flask of soup or a bundle of firewood. At first, it looked like a mother caring for her grieving daughter. But sometimes, she would show up and not even step inside the house. She would stand at the door, say something low, and then leave. No hug, no prayer, no comfort. It was strange. So one evening, I walked past Ada's room and overheard them arguing. "You should be grateful I still come here," Mama Justina said, her voice sharp. "After all you've put this family through." "I didn't ask you to come," Ada replied quietly. "They were my husbands. I loved them." "You, love. You don't even know what that means. If you had listened to me from the beginning." That was when I knocked on the wooden frame and pretended I needed to buy akara oil. The argument stopped. Mama Justina gave me a long, cold stare before she walked out, limping as usual. Aga didn't speak as she measured the oil. Her eyes were red and tired. "Auntie Ada," I said quietly, "are you okay?" She nodded too quickly. I went further. "Auntie Ada, there is something I've been meaning to tell you. I saw your mother chanting and holding what looked like a charm at your backyard that morning Ebuka died. I dotted. She left your compound in a hurry very early that morning. Ada's face froze. You probably are mistaking her for someone else, Ada said. I told her I was very shocked of what I saw. Ada was in a state of shock and disbelief. What? She whispered. She dropped the bottle she was holding. Oil spilled on the ground, but she didn't move. She just stood there staring at nothing. I didn't know she came, she said after a long pause. I was asleep. The baby had been crying all night. Maybe you should ask her, I said carefully. Ada nodded slowly. The next day, I saw her heading towards her mother's house, baby strapped to her back, determination in her step. I followed from a distance. She didn't go inside. She just stood outside the compound and called out, Mama, come out, I want to ask you something. There was no answer at first. Then the curtain shifted and Mama Justina appeared, her face blank. What is it now? Mama Justina said. Mama, I heard something and I have come to confirm it from you. Ada said. Mama Justina was like, what is it? Mama, the day Ebuka died, somebody saw you at my backyard with a charm in your hand. Mama, are you responsible for Ebuka's death? Ada asked directly. Mama Justina's lips trembled. What? Who told you this? She asked. Mama answered the question. Ada blotted. Ada, are you accusing me of something? Mama Justina asked. She added, Ada, I have been by your side through all this. I have stood by you even when the whole village rejected you. I defended you when your in-laws were pouring insults on you and tearing you down. And now, somebody, a gossip, told you this about me and you believed. Mama, you never approved any of my marriage. You never liked any of my husbands. And you have always told me I will not have a good marriage, Ada said. But then Mama Justina laughed. That laugh chilled me to my bones. And said to Ada, well, if you must know, that morning I was passing by. Almost I'll explain every step I take in this village. Ada didn't flinch. Just tell me one thing, Ada said. Are you hiding something from me? Mama Justina didn't reply. She just turned, and as she was limping back into the house, she said to Ada, I do not want to continue with this conversation. Take your accusation somewhere else. 3 days after Ada confronted her, Mama Justina came back, but this time she wasn't angry. She came holding a basket of okra and smoked fish, her wrapper tighter than usual, her face arranged in what I can only describe as forced softness. The kind of softness a snake wears when it is hiding its fangs. I was sweeping in front of my compound when she walked past. She nodded at me and I nodded back, though my eyes stayed on her long after she passed. She knocked gently on Ada's door, once, then twice. Ada opened the door. Her face was stiff. Mama, she said flatly. I came to talk, Mama Justina said. Please, let me enter. Ada didn't move. I brought something for soup, Mama Justina added, lifting the basket. Ada paused, then stepped aside. What happened inside that room, I didn't see. But Ada came to my house that evening with a baby on her lap and told me everything. She said she wants to start afresh, Ada said. Her voice was dull. She blamed all the fighting and all the shouting on stress. From the death, from Papa, from life. She said that. I asked. Ada nodded. I stared at Ada. You think she's truly making peace? Ada shook her head. I don't know. It felt like she was acting, like she wants something. She never forgave you, I said quietly, and probably never will. Ada nodded. She held that thing in her house for 20 years, never said a word, But now, after 5 funerals, she suddenly wants to play mother again. We sat in silence, the baby gurgling softly. Then Ada said something I'll never forget. She said she loved all my husbands, that they were good men. I looked at Ada sharply. Do you think she really meant what she said? Ada looked at me. And in that moment, I knew the past wasn't sleeping. It was wide awake, watching. Be careful, I warned. Sometimes guilt wears the face of kindness. But deep inside, even I was torn. Was Mama Justina really just a grieving mother we all misunderstood? Or was this sudden peace offering a carefully folded lie? I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being washed, clayed even, like someone had turned the entire village into a stage. Before all this, before the funerals and whispers, before Ada was even born, Mama Justina was the most beautiful woman in our village. People still talk about it. Her skin was smooth like ripe mango, her waist like a dancer's. Her voice could quiet a crowd. When she walked past, even married men forgot their manners. She knew it too, and that was the beginning of her downfall. She married young to a man many feared and respected, Mr. Dike, a disciplinarian, upright and deeply spiritual. No nonsense, but quiet. Almost too quiet. People said he didn't know how to love a beautiful woman. He didn't shower her with affection, no sweet words, no surprises, just silence and rules. At first, Mama Justina played the good wife. Church every Sunday, market every Thursdays. But temptations always come knocking, and she never closed the door for long. She began seeing other men secretly. Men who knew how to compliment her, who bought her fine lace wrappers, who whispered to her at night when her husband was praying. She told herself it was harmless, just small pleasures to fill in the cracks. But all that changed the day Ada caught her. Ada was 12. She had come back from her friend's house to collect something. Instead, she found her mother on the bed with a man she called Uncle Pastor. The scream that came out of Ada's mouth that day shook the house. Unaware of the consequence, Ada told her father everything later that night. That single confession shattered their home. Mr. Dike didn't beat Mama Justina. He didn't yell. He just simply stopped talking. He didn't talk to anyone. He turned into stone. For weeks, he stayed outside the hut, alone, reading the scripture and fasting. He told people it was for his soul, but to Mama Justina, it was rejection. Punishment worse than a slap. No man had ever ignored her before. And now her own husband, the one she thought she had tamed, now treated her like air. She begged, she cried, cooked his favorite soup every day. Nothing worked. That's when she did something no one, not even Ada, knew until much later. She went to see a woman they called Mama Nuku, deep in the neighboring village. A woman known to restore broken marriages, but her methods weren't clean. Mama Justina wanted her husband back. She wanted his love, his eyes, his soul. The woman warned her. It will cost you, she said. Mama Justina replied, I'll pay anything. And so she did. They said she spent the full night in the forest. She was tied to a tree, chanting things in a language not her own. That she was asked to offer something of value, and she gave up her leg, one of her legs. That's why she limps. She told people she fell from a tree. Others She told them it was arthritis. But those of us who looked close, we knew now. We knew that limp wasn't physical, it was spiritual. She got her husband back, yes, but never his heart. And ever since then, she's been trying to fill a void that keeps growing. But what no one knew yet was that the sacrifice she made that night would demand more than just her leg. By the time Ada buried her faked husband, she had become a ghost in the eyes of the village, alive but not really living. Her compound, once full of laughter and the sounds of children playing, had gone quiet, except for the crying of her youngest. She had 5 boys now, each one fatherless. With no help from her family and no man willing to come near her, Ada decided to take fate into her own hands. She applied for a teaching job at the village primary school. She had her qualifications, a diploma in education, and experience from when she taught part-time during her second marriage. But when the school board saw her name, something shifted. The headmaster, Mr. Ume, who once taught Ada when she was a child, folded her application without looking up. "We'll get back to you," he said. They never did. She waited a week, 2 weeks. Then finally she went to see one of the teachers she knew, Miss Chinwe, a childhood friend of ours. They said no, Miss Chinwe whispered. Another asked her why. Chinwe looked down. "They are scared. The staff, the parents, everyone," Chinwe said. Ada was silent. "They said if something happens to a child, they will blame you. Or worse, if a father comes to pick his child and dies later, they would say it's you," Chinwe continued. But Ada laughed. And it wasn't out of joy. It was out of sorrow. It was a kind of laugh that sounds like a cough mixed with pain. To a married working course, Ada said. "They didn't put it that way, but yes," Chinwe said quietly. Words spread fast, as it always does in places where people have too much time and too little mercy. Market women started hiding their goods when she walked by. Mothers would grab their sons if they saw her on the same path. Men made sign of the cross and spat 3 times. Some people said the government should relocate her. One woman in the church suggested burning her clothes so that the cross wouldn't float around the air. I was the only one who still visited her. One day, she looked at me and said, "I wonder if I'm still human to them, or just a story they tell their children to scare them." I didn't know what to say, but deep down, even I was beginning to ask questions that I was too afraid to voice out. How could 5 men die the same way? Why did misfortune follow her like a shadow? And if Ada wasn't the cause, who was? She kept to herself more after that. She stopped going to the market, but she sent her older son to buy gari and pepper. She didn't cry in public anymore. She didn't explain herself anymore. Because when the whole world points against you, even your truth begins to feel like a lie. But the truth, the real truth, was beginning to scratch its way to the surface, and it would soon blow everything wide open. One evening, I went to visit Ada. Her second son was coughing badly, and she was grinding dry pepper with tears in her eyes. The tears was not from emotion, no. It was from the sting of the pepper and the weight of life. "They want me to disappear," she said all of a sudden to me. And I told her, "No one wants that," even though I didn't believe my own words. She looked at me. "You don't understand," she said. "It's not just gossip anymore. Someone came to my window last night and left a dead pigeon tied with a red cloth." "What?" I whispered. "That's not ordinary." And she nodded. And I asked her, "Did you see the face of the person?" She said no, she did not. If Sofin had a face by now, it was Ada. Her eyes had sunk so deep into the socket, you would think she hadn't slept in months. And the truth is, she hasn't. Hunger doesn't let a mother rest. And when 5 children cry at night with empty stomachs, even the strongest woman begins to break. The baby on her back has stopped crying altogether due to weakness. His cheeks, once plump and full of life, had hollowed. The second boy's ribs had started showing. Her third son had started picking up sand from the ground and eating it. The neighbors whispered, which or not, these children will die if she doesn't do something. But who would hire her? Who would feed her children without crossing themselves first? That was when Ada made the decision she would swallow her pride and go ask her only brother, Chibueze, who lived in the neighboring village just 2 hours away. I watched her the morning she left, tired eyes, wearing the same black dress, and a shaky resolve. She strapped her baby on her back and held the others by the hand. They walked barefoot, the older boys taking turns carrying the small one halfway. When she got to Chibueze's compound, it was his wife, Amara, who answered the door. The way Amara looked at her, up and down like she was a beggar who had come to bring life into the house. It already told her that she was unwelcome. Still, Ada smiled and said, I just want to stay for 2 days. I needed food for the children. Chibueze, her brother, welcomes her in. But he had no power in that house. His wife ran things and she made sure Ada felt it. She gave Ada a worn-out mat to sleep on in the corridor, while she and her children ate jollof rice and chicken behind the door. Ada and her boys were given soaked garri and salt water. On the second day, the baby vomited twice after eating the food. But Amara said to Ada, you should be grateful. Some people would have chased you out by now. My own friends said I shouldn't even let you into the house, that you might bring death here. Chibueze heard this and I said nothing. That night, Ada overheard Amara praying in the living room. Father, any spirit of misfortune in this house, let it go back to where it came from. We didn't kill anybody's husband. Let their blood not follow my children. That was enough. By dawn, Ada packed her things, her children, and left the house. Her children were coughing from cold. Her pride was in pieces. She left before the cock crowed. When she returned to the village, she passed me on the road. And I asked her, you didn't stay so long? She shook her head and walked past. No tears, no words, but something about the way she walked. It was like she had nothing left to lose. Every year, without fail, the biggest church in the region held its annual crusade in our village square. People came from far and wide, buses full of worshippers, tents rising like mushrooms overnight, and drums that echoed deep into the night. It wasn't just noise. Strange things happened during these crusades. Blind eyes opened, crippled legs straightened, people screamed and confessed. Some even said they vomited snakes. Whether or not you believed it, you couldn't deny anything powerful had happened there. This year, the theme was chains shall be broken. I remember telling Ada about it. You should go, I said, holding her hand. Even if it's just one night, who knows what might happen? Ada nodded slowly. Her face was pale, worn from suffering. Yes, but also from something else. Hesitation. She wanted to go. I could feel it, but she was hesitant. By the next morning, everything had changed. Mama Justina showed up from nowhere, uninvited as usual. She sat on Ada's stool and she said, I heard you are planning to go for the crusade. I wonder till today how she knew, because Ada never told her anything. Ada said nothing to her. Do you think they will welcome you there? Mama Justina continued, adjusting her wrapper. You want to carry your cross to the altar so that the whole village will watch you fall down and foam at your mouth like all these other mad people. Mama, please, Ada said quietly. I just want to pray. Then pray, yeah. Mama Justina snapped. Must it be with a crowd? You know they are looking for someone to use as example. Don't give them a reason. What Ada didn't know was that her mother's fear had nothing to do with embarrassment. It was about exposure. Mama Justina knew what lived in the shadows. She knew the chains the crusade promised to break were the same chains she had used to bind her own daughter's destiny. Prayer was not just a threat, it was a weapon. She had to act quickly. That night, Ada's third son, Kamsi, who had always been the strongest among the boys, started convulsing in his sleep. His lips turned blue. His body stiffened. Ada screamed. By the time I rushed in, the room was chaos. She was holding him, crying, praying, blowing into his mouth. Mama, please do something, she shouted, turning to her mother, who had mysteriously shown up again. Mama Justina held her hands behind her back, pretending to be shocked. This is why I told you not to tempt God, she said slowly. These crusades are not for everybody. Are you saying God is punishing me? Ada cried. Mama Justina looked away. Just rest. You don't need prayer, you need peace. By dawn, the crusade buses had rolled into the village, but Ada didn't go. She stayed back, kneeling beside her sick child, watching his small chest rise and fall. And far away, under her breath, Mama Justina whispered words only the gods understood. The spell was working, but for how long? No one expected it, not even Ada. That morning, while the crusade crowd was packing up their chairs and rolling up banners, Ada's father, Mr. Dike, walked into her compound, slowly, silently, with his Bible tucked under his arm and his slippers worn from years of pacing alone. He hadn't visited her since the burial of her first husband. For over a decade now, his silence stood like a wall between them. He had loved her in his own quiet way, but grief and shame had turned him into a stranger. But that day, something was different. His eyes held something, a quiet clarity. Ada stood up from her stool as soon as she saw him. "Papa," she said, surprised. He nodded and sat down gently. "I heard about Kamsi," he said. "I came to pray for him." Ada didn't speak at first. She just knelt beside her son, who was sleeping now, wrapped in a faded wrapper, his breath shallow but steady. Mr. Dike looked around the compound. Then he said softly, "You don't belong here anymore." Ada turned to him confused. "Papa," she said, "this place has swallowed you whole," he said, "and it will never spit you back out." Ada blinked. He looked at her for a long time, as if trying to remember a face. Then he said, "My brother in the city, Uncle Emeka, he has been asking about you since Chuka died." "Since my second husband?" Ada asked, eyes wide open. And she added, "That long ago?" Mr. Dike nodded. "I didn't tell you then. Your mother didn't want you to go. She said you had no business with city people. But Emeka has asked again. He said he has work for you and room for the children." Ada looked away. "Mama won't allow it." Mr. Dike gave a short laugh and told Ada, "Your mother doesn't own you." This was the first time I ever heard him speak against Mama Justina. "She's not well," he said quietly. "Not in the body, but in her spirit, and I have been too weak to stop her." Ada swallowed hard. Papa, did you ever suspect her? Mr. Dike closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them and said, I don't have proof, but I have regrets. He pulled out an envelope and placed it on the bench. I said to Ada, this is enough for transport to the city. Go to your uncle, he will protect you. Ada held the envelope like it might catch fire. Take your children and go, he said, before this village finishes what it started. He prayed for the sick child. Then he got up, walked to the gate and paused. Without turning back, he said one last thing. Whatever your mother has done, the city is the only place her shadow won't reach. Then he left. And just like that, the silence that has defined their relationship finally spoke. 4 years had passed since Ada left the village. No one had heard much from her, except that she had finally gotten a job in a private primary school in the outskirts of Owerri. It wasn't a rich school, but it was steady work. She taught basic science and helped the younger kids during break time. They loved her, especially for how softly she spoke and how she never shouted, no matter what. She had moved into a small one-room apartment not far from the school. She and her 5 boys were finally beginning to live, not just survive. With Uncle Meka's help, the boys were in school, eating well, laughing again. Ada wore clean clothes now. Her skin had started to glow again. She was still quiet, still humble, but there was peace in her walk. Then, one Sunday afternoon, she received a voice note from Chiwe, her old friend in the village. Ada, there is a new crusade coming to our village. Not the usual one, no. This one is big. Prophet Elijah from Abuja. People say he doesn't touch the microphone twice before demons confess. Ada, I think you should come. At first, Ada ignored the voice note. But that night, she couldn't sleep. Something kept tugging at her chest. Not fear, not pain, just a pull, like her spirit was being summoned back to the very place that once tried to bury her. 3 days later, she packed a small bag, hugged her children, and left them in the care of Uncle Emeka. I need to end something, she told Uncle Emeka. She arrived in the village quickly, almost like a ghost, slipping back through a locked door. No one recognized her at first, not even Mama Justina, who had aged terribly in Ada's absence. Her limp had worsened. Her voice was hoarse, like someone who whispered curses too often. The crusade grounds were packed. The old field near the town square, now filled with plastic chairs, flashing lights and loudspeakers. People were dancing, clapping, shouting, but Ada stood at the back, arms folded, just watching. Then Prophet Elijah stepped onto the stage. He didn't preach for long. After about 15 minutes, he paused, looked into the crowd and pointed directly at Ada. You, he said. People turned. You with the green skirt, come out here. Ada froze. Her feet refused to move, but the crowd began to part. As she stepped forward, the prophet's voice grew louder. They said you are a widow, but your husbands were not taken by God. They were taken by a woman close to you. Gasps everywhere. She entered a covenant to keep her home, but she offered you instead. Your husbands were her sacrifice, your joy, her exchange. Suddenly, from the far corner of the crowd, a large shriek tore the air. It was Mama Justina. She fell to the ground, convulsing. The prophet shouted, "Let the spell return back to its owner." People screamed. Some people fled. Others dropped to their knees. And just like that, Ada fell to the ground. The curse had been broken, but the truth had just begun to speak. The field went quiet after Mama Justina fell. People gathered, forming a circle around her twitching body. Her eyes were open, but rolled far back. Only the whites were showing. Her mouth hung open when she finally spoke. The voice that came out wasn't hers. It was deep, hollow, and cold. She broke my home, the voice bellowed. She told her father what she saw. She ruined everything. The villagers gasped. Some covered their ears, others cried out, others shouting prayer. Ada was shocked. She stood in tears. The prophet stepped forward, microphone shaking in his hand. "Who are you speaking through?" he demanded. "I am her mother," the voice roared, trembling like something trapped inside was breaking out. "I gave my own leg to hold my husband. She cursed me first." "No," Ada whispered. Mama Justina continued. "I gave her to the gods. I said let her never stay married. Let every man that touches her die. Let her bury them all." The crowd cried. She continued. "I killed them one by one. The first with food, the second with a charm under the bed. The third, he mocked me, so I went for something stronger. The fourth, he dreamt of fire every night before his chest stopped. The fifth, he loved her too much, he had to go." Ada fell to her knees, crying. "Why? Why, Mama?" Then the voice softened. Now weak, like it had run out of rage. "I was angry, lonely, and ashamed. You saw me at 12. You told your father. You made him hate me. I lost my place in my own home and I blamed you instead of blaming myself." Suddenly, Mama Justina went limp. Her real voice returned, broken and hoarse. Mama Justina was crying. For the first time, I saw Mama Justina crying. Real cry. The woman who once ruled with pride, now crawling in the sand, holding Ada's feet. "Forgive me, Ada, my daughter, I'm sorry." The crowd was silent. Only the wind answered. The prophet told Ada. He placed his hand on her head and told her, "Forgiveness doesn't make you weak. It ends the chain." Ada looked down at the trembling woman who had birthed her, destroyed her, and now begged at her feet. "I forgive you," she whispered. "I forgive you for everything." And the prophet prayed over both of them, sealing whatever had been broken. The crusade ended that night with people singing freedom songs. But Ada didn't wait to speak to anyone. She left early the next morning before the sun fully rose. No goodbye, no visits. She returned to Owerri and never looked back. She still sent money to her father through my bank account. But nobody, not even me, knows what is happening in her life now. I do hope and pray she is fine and happy wherever she is, because she deserves it.